Hello, hi everybody, and welcome to this month's LinkedIn Loving, where we are shining a light on the world's leading B2B social media platform, that is, of course, LinkedIn. So today's topic, I think, is a really interesting one and, potentially contentious as well, because we're actually talking about being vulnerable on LinkedIn. And of course, LinkedIn's seen as a business platform, isn't it? And it's not, that whole thing, it's not Facebook kind of thing going on. So, should we really be sharing so much of ourselves on LinkedIn? So I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Ellie McDonald here, who has set up Hello Hope and also from MacComs PR. He's going to be answering those questions for me and really getting me or helping me understand and everybody else, what does it mean to be vulnerable on LinkedIn and why we should be and why it works. So hello, Ellie. It's lovely to have you here.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
I'm so delighted you're able to join us, indeed. But just before we start, Ellie, I'm going to ask you, I'm really going to go, what does it all mean? But before we do that, I just want to let everybody know that if they're new to these LinkedIn Lovins, wondering what the heck they are actually short, bite-sized LinkedIn learnings over lunch, where I'm joined by guests like Ellie to share their expertise on subjects that's going to help us with our overall LinkedIn activity and results. So I do like to make these as interactive as possible. So if you've got any questions, please do put them on the comments box and we will get to them as soon as possible. So enough of me, let's get started and let's drill into this vulnerability thing on LinkedIn. So one of the things I really kind of struggle with, and what I'd like to understand first is what do we mean by being vulnerable on LinkedIn? What is that?
So for me, I think it's about being your authentic self and not being afraid to share your why behind business, what drives you, what challenges you face. Because ultimately, people buy people. Business is all based on relationships. And the more somebody gets to know you and relates with you and can resonate with you, then I think that that really helps to build connections and those relationships. And it's a way to really get engagement for people to understand who you are and why you are in the business that you're in. It's just, for me, it's so much more powerful than just saying I'm just running this business, this is what I do, but really tuning into the why you do it and what's led you to that point.
And that's so important, isn't it? The why. Who's that book? I've forgotten. Is it Key People of Influence? Is it where you start with why? Sorry, that's really important, isn't it? Everybody buys the why. They don't buy the how, but they buy
exactly.
Why.
And that's all PR, really. It's all about the why. So, I've worked in PR for 16 years. I'm still running my PR agency as well as Hello Hope. But it was really Hello Hope that's really helped me to become more vulnerable, to really share. I set up this mental health and suicide prevention CIC because I was inspired by my dad, who sadly took his own life. So that's my mission, and being able to share why it means so much to me and how I think I can help and why and what I'm doing, that really resonates with people, because a lot of people have been affected by things like mental health and suicide. So really tapping into that and sharing my journey and story is a way that people are able to connect with me, relate, resonate, and it does help open a lot of doors. And for I've had some amazing conversations. I always get loads of messages off the back of my vulnerable posts from people either saying, I wish I could be this brave, I've got a similar story to share, I completely relate, how could I get involved? And it's led to media opportunities, it's led to partnerships, and I do believe that's all because I've just been very authentic and gradually got braver and braver with being more vulnerable.
That's really interesting. Is it because before you founded Hello Hope, do you think you weren't that vulnerable? Is that what started the vulnerability for you?
Yeah, I mean, there was a bit of a journey where obviously I lost my dad to suicide when I was only 4 years old. So that was 35 years ago now. So it's something that I've grown up with and it's affected me my whole life. And there's various other kind of, mental health challenges that I've faced dealing with loved ones, as well as my own poor mental health. And I've been running Matt Comms for almost 10 years now, worked in PR for 16, and I was getting more and more involved in charitable causes, things that really resonated with me that I loved supporting. And there was a couple of sort of wellness clients that I had, like a workplace well-being company, and I was really inspired by their posts. They were the ones for me that really started being really open and honest and vulnerable. And I was behind the scenes doing all of their PR. I've shared press coverage for, lots of people will be aware of Steve Phillip, who
Yes.
he was very big on LinkedIn. He was a LinkedIn trainer,
Yes,
and then when his son sadly took his own life, he's now, similarly gone into that space and does an awful lot around suicide prevention as well. So I was doing the PR and behind the scenes for all these people, thinking I've got my own story to share, and it did start setting the wheels in motion for me to think I'd really like to be a bit more at the forefront of this. And I started researching and retraining and wondering, is there a gap here? Is there something else I could do? And swiftly realized that there is. And actually, this is something that means so much to me. I am going to set up a non-profit around it. And it probably started with me sharing about my dad's suicide, about my own experience. And then I saw there really is demand here. There's people that, the existing support out there sadly isn't good enough. We're still losing so many people to suicide. It's the biggest killer of anyone under 50 and men under 50 and anyone under 35. And so being able to kind of find that niche and then being able to share my story as to why I'm doing that was one of the key drivers in actually setting up Hello Hope.
Wow, goodness. So it's made a really big difference to you in your business for both Matt Comms and also for Hello Hope, because you started a new business just purely by being vulnerable on LinkedIn. That's opened the door to opportunities.
Yeah, I wouldn't say obviously just purely based on that. I believe timing is everything. It's not something I could have launched Hello Hope a few years ago. I had to get to the right place within my own kind of, development and accepting of my dad's suicide and things, but yeah, I feel like seeing LinkedIn change and seeing more people be really authentic and vulnerable and thinking this is my kind of working, this is what I like. And LinkedIn is absolutely by far my favorite social media platform. And I don't tend to get negative people, the LinkedIn police saying this isn't Facebook, because I think I always tie it into something related to business, whether it was sharing my my other dad of 30 years who sadly passed away this summer. I still, I'll share that vulnerability as in, this is why I'm not working right now. So there is a relevant link there. I'm not just telling people, somebody's died, but also letting people know why I'm not available right now, why things are quite tough for me. Please, be patient, bear with me, because ultimately we're all human beings. We're not robots sat behind businesses. We're all affected by things. Personal lives are tough. And the more that people can understand what's going on, so that they know you're not just ignoring an email, that you're dealing with a lot, then I think it helps make your working life a lot better as well, because you've been able to share with people what's going on for you right now. And I'll be honest, it's been difficult and tough because I'm still running Matt Comms, and I was a little bit scared, if I start putting all these posts about Hello Hope and how much this means to me, am I going to lose my Matt Comms clients? Because they might think, hang on a minute, she's over there just doing all of this stuff. But I've just been really open and honest with them and said, I have reduced some of my clients, but I'm really keen to continue working with you. This is what I'll be doing in terms of my main profile on social media, because we're obviously connected on there, so you will see all of this. But just so you know, I'm still dedicated to your support, and luckily the clients that I've retained have been really supportive of both Hello Hope and Matt Comms.
So I guess it's about sort of your tribe, isn't it? Because I was going to ask you, when you do put a post out that's vulnerable and things, obviously it's generally positive, but do you get anyone who's a bit of a detractor, and what do you do with those sorts of things?
I haven't really had any sort of negativity. No, I mean, I always get more engagement on my more vulnerable posts, and it took me a little bit. You've got to kind of dip toes in, and I felt sick the first time I shared something really open and honest and personal, and I nearly deleted it, but I thought, no, just put your phone away, go for a long walk and come back. And then when I came back and I saw so many supportive comments and messages, and that gave me a boost to then dare to be a little bit braver next time, and then a little bit braver the time after that, to a point where sometimes it still makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable, but I think that's a good thing, because you want something that people are going to stop and go, oh wow, okay, that's really made me think. That's what people will engage with. If I just said, oh, I'm just at this event today, it's not going to get much traction. But if I say, this is why I'm going to this event, and this is what it really means to me, and talk more around that why again, then they're the kind of things that really drives that engagement.
So I think for me, what's because I will put my hand up and say I struggle with being vulnerable, because I feel that I don't have a story to tell. So we're talking here about obviously the things that have happened to your family, and it's the mental health and that your fathers and things like that's happened. But I kind of go, well, I don't have anything interesting that people will want to know about me.
Really? I mean, you show me the person that has the perfect life that's never overcome any adversity. I would like to meet that person, because we all go through struggles in our lives. And sometimes we may, it's really dangerous to try and compare to other people, because I've been through a lot in my life, but people have been through worse things, people have been through less things. Like it's all relevant. We've all got our own struggles and adversity that we cope with, but it's sharing those challenges, how we've overcome these things, how these things have affected us. It may only reach out to a few people that will really relate and say, I'm also people don't understand that I'm really bereft by the loss of my cat, or whatever it may be. That's something that's really been personal and hit you, but there will be people out there that get it. And like you said before, it's about finding your tribe and those people that, for me, it is something that's massive. Like mental health and suicide affects a lot of people, but I also share other things, like even a post about just being really, really busy juggling 2 businesses. I did that in a bit of a tongue-in-cheek way. I put a bit of humor about I'm going to join the circus, and then I talked because I got really good at juggling and spinning plates, and then I talked about everything that was going on and why I was doing it, and that's what helped get the engagement. It's not a particularly vulnerable post about something really deep, but again, it's just leaning into that vulnerability a bit to share I'm really, really busy, and this is what's going on right now, and why all these things are impacting me. So I really struggle to believe that anyone doesn't have a story to share, whatever it may be. Because even if you think, oh well, I'm just managing the marketing for a business, but you're not just doing that. You again, it's that tapping into your why. Why are you doing that? Is it because you've set up on your own, because you had a really difficult time with an employer previously? There'll be some sort of reason, the why, as to be able to share your vulnerability, to then relate to other people, and others will, like, people say to me, I wish I could be this brave and share these things. It's like, you absolutely can. And I would just advise, start small, dip your toes in, and just think, right, what does something really mean to me? And a good tip to be able to do it is to have a look at like key awareness days. I mean, there's a lot of them, and I think sometimes people go a bit too crazy on all of the key awareness days, but find one that's really, really relevant to you and what could be a little bit of vulnerability. Like I helped somebody, it was a World Mental Health Day a few weeks ago, and she said, I really want to share my story, but I'm a bit scared. What do you think? Could I talk about this? Will people judge me because I'm talking about, addiction and things? And I said, I think it's brilliant, and I really think you'll get a lot of great engagement, and people will really relate and resonate with that. And I think it's brave to be open and honest and share these things, because there's a danger of social media, especially other platforms, with us having to portray these amazing lives and and it's just unrealistic expectations. Life is hard. It can be really, really tough. And I think the more we normalize that and say, you know, I'm having a bit of a difficult time right now, and get better at speaking out about things, and actually sharing those struggles. Like, people now are going, oh, yes, thank you. Life isn't perfect and rosy for everyone. I am actually quite normal, because I'm looking at Instagram and all these shiny, happy lives of other people, and, you know, people hashtag living my best life. It's not real. It's not realistic, you know. So let's be a bit more real and raw and honest, and understand that we've all got struggles and we've all got reasons for what we're doing.
I think it's a really good point, because I say, personally speaking, for me, it's like, why would anybody be interested? But I know that actually it is about, LinkedIn has changed considerably, and it is more about being personable and sharing you on the platform. Brenda here, thank you very much for joining us. Brenda has said about, you know, it's really good to hear how you mix your marketing expertise with setting up a newer initiative. So well done there. And Brenda also,
Thank you,
yes,
Brenda.
she's also absolutely right. So I have taken on board a little bit of this, and going back to the awareness days, there is a hearing awareness day. I forget when it is at the moment, but I did do a post for it and said that I wore, you know, hearing aids. And then I went to an event, a networking event, forgot my hearing aids. God, it was awful because I can't hear people. But yes, and Brenda very kindly, yes, she saw that post. So
yeah, and
yes,
she felt more connected to you because she's also got mild to moderate hearing loss. I mean, we were just talking about that before. I have as well. And it's those things that people go, oh, yeah, not many people do speak out about that. Because, like, you know, if I go to really busy events, which I love to go to, but sometimes I really struggle because I don't wear a hearing aid, which I know I should. But I have to stand so people talk to my right ear and not my left. And if I knew you were in the room, I'd be able to come over and go, oh, someone I can relate to.
Exactly, and it is about that connectedness, isn't it? And it's amazing how many people do have the same struggle, actually, when you do start talking about it. So that is really, really interesting, and stuff. But I guess for me, it's like, you know, it's not about oversharing, though, is it? Because I can't keep going every week to a post about how deaf I am or about my cat, because it'll turn people off, isn't it? So isn't there a line between how much you share?
I think it's what's right for you. I would say, you know, that's why I advise people just dip your toes in, find what is it that you really want to be known for? What do you really want to talk about? What vulnerabilities have you got that you feel comfortable with sharing? And just, try a little one with something, make sure it's relevant. We don't want just, content for the sake of it. But make sure that you're posting something that has got a relevance that is going to resonate with people. And then next time there is, it's not just about those key awareness days, but things that you're doing, the conversations that you've had, a new book or a documentary that you've watched that's relevant to it, or an experience, or, whatever that might be. These content options, like since I've been more vulnerable, I see them a lot more easier now to say, oh, wow, yeah, that was a really interesting experience I just had. I'm going to share that on LinkedIn because it's relevant for me and for what I do. I don't believe in, when people say, how many times should I be posting on LinkedIn? When you've got something interesting to say is what I would say. Not schedule something 3 times a week, because if you just post for the sake of it, you're just going to switch people off, aren't you? But it's
100%.
Yeah, and it's always that good mix and trying to mix things up. Like, I know that when I post about my net walks, for example, they don't get as much engagement as my other things, but that is something that I regularly do. So in that case, it's more of a quality over quantity, and it's just trying to find fresh new ways to talk about the net walks that are coming up, instead of just kind of pumping out the same old messages, join us at a network this time, but about the interesting conversations that are being had and the different routes, and how this has been a really good wellness walk for me because I've been going through a bit of a difficult time, and that sort of thing. So I think once you start doing it, you see these opportunities and like my brain often writes in LinkedIn posts now, and I have to like go, calm down, it's okay, we'll get to that, I'm really busy right now. But it's nice because I know that, you know, like yesterday I posted about needing some support. I've been frantically running both organizations on my own for months, and it's hard, it's tiring. So putting out a vulnerable post to say I really need some help, and now I've got 20 people signed up to come to a webinar to find out more about my plans and how people can get involved and help, and that's just like something that I've been like, oh, do I dare ask for help? I'm a bit stubborn. I always think, you know, well, I decided to set these things up, I need to do it all on my own. But then also thinking about who are the people I want to help. Actually, to be able to help those people, I need to get the help to do that. And also, if you feel nervous about posting things, think about, could this really help someone? Could someone else be in this position that your post could inspire them? Because if you're sharing any kind of vulnerability, I guarantee you it'll speak to someone, and they'll no doubt get in touch and thank you for that, and, you know, be inspired themselves. And then they might, you know, it's that knock-on effect, isn't it? They can go on to inspire somebody else in turn.
Yeah, indeed. And that's what I think it's about stepping out of yourself, isn't it? And going, it's more about helping people. How will this help? How does this relate to other people?
Yeah. It's not a vanity project. It's not just, hey, listen to me, I know everything, and, you know, but it's about and I think that, you know, people are savvy online. We know if people are greenwashing, we know if people are just saying things. Like, it frustrated me, the amount of businesses that jumped on the bandwagon for World Mental Health Day, but don't actually do anything to support their teams in mental health. Like, people can see through this. So it's about being genuine and authentic and saying, these are my values, this is what I stand for, this is why, and then having that content. Because if you just say, yeah, great, Mental Health Day, but actually, you know, where's the proof? You're not actually doing anything, then people will be switched off to that and go, hang on, you're not actually very credible. So being that person initially, understanding what you stand for, your values, your why, and then being able to share that in a very open, honest and authentic way, I think is the key.
I love that. So, you know, just to sort of reiterate that. So from my point of view, if I want to get more vulnerable and show more of myself in the right way, is to think about what matters to me. So apart from my hearing and my cat, what's important to me and what my values, and that will then attract my tribe, and also the people that I want to work with, and that will be like-minded, I guess, won't we? And stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. You're never going to please everyone, and that's absolutely fine. I'm sure there will be some people who've unfollowed me who don't like my posts. It'll be too much for some people, but that's okay. They're not my people right now. Maybe they will be in the future. But the people that do relate are the ones that are really going to help me on my mission. They're the ones that have, you know, featured me in news articles, that have opened doors for me, and you know, supported me in various ways. So as long as I'm speaking to those people, that's the key thing that matters.
Exactly, isn't it? Because that's where the opportunities are, when you're speaking to the people where you're going to get those opportunities. There's just a couple of comments that I want to share here. So Richard, bless you, had to review applications for security clearances. So I don't know what security, obviously it was a fairly boring role, but you are definitely not the most boring person in the world, because that's what I think. I think I'm boring. And so, you know, that's really interesting. But Danny's made a really good point, because he's been experimenting with being a fuller human being on LinkedIn, and I really love
that. Yeah.
Perspective. And I think this is my challenge. Is it a challenge? You do 100% always get more engagement on posts that are personal and vulnerable, because people can relate to it, and that's the whole point, isn't it? But I think that if you do it, if every post is this vulnerable and stuff, it must wear a bit thin. So you've got to mix it up a little bit, and not just be talking about being vulnerable, but like you say, you talk about your networks and other things that you're doing.
But also I'd say find someone that really inspires you, how they write their LinkedIn posts, and see, like, for example, Steve Phillip, he always gets amazing engagement. He never runs out of content, and he's always talking about something to do with suicide prevention. So it hasn't worn thin with people. He's moving on his journey, and he's sharing that journey with people, and people are bought in, and they're going with him on it. So I think find somebody like that, whoever it may be, that you resonate with, that you think, I really like how they write, and it's similar to me, and just see, you know, what are they doing? How are they keeping it relevant? Because I think that's the important thing, is that you know, you're not going to have a completely different topic to talk about all the time. Like most of us, you know, if we're really passionate about something, that's the thing we want to talk about. But it's finding those different opportunities, so different experiences, events, conversations, meetings, you know, what's developing in your business, and being able to share that. And I feel for Danny with what he's saying there, because it's so much easier when you are your own boss. Like, you know, for me, I feel a lot more free to be able to say, this is me and warts and all. Obviously there's been a bit of a worry with me, like, will clients approve that I'm doing all of this and being really open and vulnerable? But actually I've been really amazed by, you know, I've got a manufacturing client who are very kind of typical male, set in the ways, don't talk about feelings, but I've got them opening up more because of like the things that I've shared as well. And I think, you know, particularly for business leaders, if you've got a team, then we really need to lead by example and let people know that it's okay to share these things. Ideally, you'd have a really nice, safe culture where people in your workplace can come to you and say, these are the things I'm kind of struggling with right now. You know, make sure that the workplace is suitable, everything, you know, you're able to do your job okay. But I'd really like to share my story on LinkedIn. I think I've got something really relevant that people could really relate to, and see if you can get the buy-in of the employers, because this is the way the world is going. I love it. It's completely for me. It's, you know, it's personal, it's informal, it's real, raw, authentic, getting to know the real people, and that's what builds relationships and connections. And the happiest people I've ever worked with are the ones that have really got to know me, and I've been able to get to know them properly as well. I think, you know, gone are the days of years ago of, you know, stiff board meetings with, you know, shirt and tie, and it's all been very much just business, where people are complex people. We've got stories, we've had, you know, adversity, and like I say, introduce me to that person who has not got anything interesting to say, and I'll find something.
Well, I'd like to think you're looking at her, but
not at all. Yeah, we've already got proof from sharing about your hearing.
Oh dear. I mean, it is really interesting, and I think, you know, for me, content on LinkedIn, I'm put my hand up. I'm not the biggest content creator on LinkedIn, so I think it is looking at things differently and telling that story, isn't it? So I was wondering whether we do have quickly just to share maybe some of your put my teeth in. Your post. Thank you, Ellie. I was getting that. This is me. I can't do two things at once. That's the post I need to do. I can't do two things at once. Whoever said that.
There you go. There's the content idea for you about multitasking. Yeah.
Multitasking. I put my hands up. I cannot multitask. So I was saying, because when I look through some of you see Pussycat, I love Pussycats, but, you know, it's interesting, you know, when you look at your posts.
Lovely Lily.
Yeah. So this is obviously hearing about, you know, the news of your stepdad and things, and, you know, obviously you can see that it got really, really good engagement and things. So have you got, if we look at some of your posts, what would you sort of say? This was obviously, and this is what you're saying about mental health awareness, wasn't it? How you relate the whole thing. We're not just going, it's Mental Health Awareness Week. This is how it's impacted you.
Yeah, exactly. And I think even, going back down to the one in the wedding dress, sharing about I've taken the word step out now. He was my dad for 30 years. I'm going to scatter his ashes tomorrow. But even with that one, I'm talking about something really difficult for me. It genuinely was the worst call I've ever received in my life. So it was, but from a business perspective, I was letting people know I wasn't in the office. I'm not available. Please bear with me. Please be patient. And then I'm going down at the bottom to say I've now got 2 dads to continue my important mission for, and that I'll be back as soon as I am able to. But letting people know so that people don't wonder, well, why is she not responded to that email? But being able to share. And I am a very open book. I always have been, only more recently so on LinkedIn. But like you say, I mean, all I got was a lot of messages of support and people checking in to ask how I'm doing. And there was one post when, shortly after that one, I was really depressed. I went into a really bad place. And I kind of said, like that one, I feel like a fraud. Like, how can I, as the founder of a mental health and suicide prevention company, be struggling so much myself? And there was one message in particular that really resonated with me. And it was, you were a human being long before you were a business founder. And that one to me, it's like, yeah, that's why we do this. We're all human beings. Let's stop pretending that we're just able to work. We work so much, so hard. We're real people with busy lives and challenges and everything going on. And the more kindness and compassion we can have towards each other, then the better people can support each other. And I mean, it fulfills my mission of wanting to improve mental health. The more we can normalize these conversations, the more we can all accept that we all experience struggles and be able to offer some tips that have helped us to be able to get over it. I mean, that was one of the very first vulnerable posts I ever said, was about struggling with severe depression and how I tried everything, and I'd listed, from antidepressants to counseling to tapping to absolutely everything. These are all the things that I've tried. But the main thing that had helped me was connection. I didn't realize just how much I'd isolated myself. Like anxiety had gripped me so much, I locked myself away, and the thought of going into leads, something that I do regularly, I have done for years, was terrifying. And when I felt sick sharing it, but the amount of support I got from that post and the amount of people saying, I've been there, I can relate, that for me made me go, right, yeah, I have got a voice, I have got something worth sharing. And like loads of us we'll pick up a book, we'll read I hate the word self-help book, but those kind of things, and we'll listen to podcasts and all of those things. But there's real raw people in your network on LinkedIn that have impactful stories to share as well.
Indeed. And you know what? I'm sure we could talk so much more about this. I will share details. If anybody wants to know more about Hello Hope, please do get in touch with Ellie. And also, hopefully we can talk to you if anybody struggles with being vulnerable on LinkedIn. Asking questions and coming back to you about that would be fantastic. I would like to say thank you, everybody, for joining us today. That actually, can't believe we've gone over the half an hour. So I will say goodbye now. And thank you again, Ellie, for joining us.
Thank you so much. Pleasure.